Hi, my name is Peter Choi, and today I'm going to be demoing to you a live exchange failover using vBC Cloud. What you're looking at right now is the back end to our interface. Currently we have a replication going on between an exchange server and a failover server. So our exchange server is called vBC EX01, and our failover server is called vBC EX01-Cloud. Currently we're replicating the exchange data, and we're in what's called differential sync mode, which means that we're just synchronizing the deltas. So when we initially set this up, we set this up to with a full synchronization of all the data, and after that, it's just synchronizing the differences at the block level. Our RPO is 0.35 minutes, and so that means 35% of 1 minute. What RPO stands for is recovery point objective, and that means that this is how far back in time our failover server is from our production server. And this number fluctuates. It goes up and down, plus or minus a few seconds to a few minutes, depending on network latency and the change rate at that given time. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is, first of all, I wanted to log into our production exchange server. And this is shown in green here, the green wallpaper. I also wanted to log into our failover server here in the cloud. And I also want to show you what this solution looks like from the end user's perspective. And so that's why I'm logging into a Windows XP workstation. And on this workstation, we are running Microsoft Outlook as our email client. So our Microsoft Outlook is going to connect to our Exchange server. And on the bottom right corner here, you can see connected to Microsoft Exchange. What I'm also going to do is send out a real live internet email. And I do this to show you that this is a real live working production exchange server that is able to send and receive internet email. Alright, so that's going to a Gmail account. So I'm going to open up another web browser and check that Gmail account here. Alright, so here's that email. I'm going to go ahead and respond to it too. Okay, and so we should see that email pop up here in our inbox, and there it is. So internet email is working. Our Exchange server is up and running. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to simulate an outage by simply shutting down our production Exchange server. So remember, our production Exchange server had the green wallpaper here. Alright, so this guy is going to shut down, and it's going to take a few moments for those services to spool down, and a couple things are going to happen. First of all, our lightweight agent that's installed on that production server is going to stop sending a heartbeat to our processing server, and that's going to trigger an alert, and that alert can be customized. So typically we would set that alert to let you know that your customer's production server is down. That way you can be proactive and give them a call and see if they're okay or if it's just a temporary brownout. The other thing that's going to happen is if you have a user that happens to have Outlook open and is staring at the screen here, they'll see a little pop-up like this. There it is. Perfect timing. So this is letting them know that they can't connect to the Exchange server. We've all seen this here and there in the past. So this is going to keep trying to connect, and eventually it's going to fail and just stay disconnected. Alright, so once a decision is made that a failover needs to happen, failing over is a simple matter of coming back here into the interface, and with a couple of clicks, running a unplanned failover script. So just a couple of clicks, click start, and we can watch that job run here. So in our status page, unplanned failover script, and currently it's starting. And this typically takes just a couple of minutes. While that's going, I wanted to show you some of the other tools that we have here. So we do have graphs that show us the compression on the data that's coming in. We can also look at the total amount of raw data that's coming into our processing server. And we can look at this as an aggregate total or by host. So here we have an aggregate total per month of how much data we're collecting. And we also have a profiling tool, and this profiling tool basically allows us to measure the RPO based on the change rate and the customer's bandwidth. And so this is kind of a sizing tool, and we would typically run this for about a week to get some real live data and see what the change rate looks like for that customer. Keep in mind that when we're talking about this type of replication, we're more concerned about the change rate as opposed to the raw amount of data. So you could have a customer with terabytes of data, but if they have a small change rate, it doesn't really matter. All right, so I'm going to pop back over here to our protection status page. To check up on our failover job. So there's our unplanned failover job, and it does say completed. I'm going to open up the log for that, and we'll see here that the start time was 16:25, and the end time was 16:26 and some change. So a little over a minute there for our failover. Here on the client side, we see a little pop-up that says we have to restart Outlook. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Keep in mind also that the user doesn't have to reboot or log out or anything like that. Basically, I'm just going to close and reopen Outlook there. And when this opens, we'll see that it is connected to Microsoft Exchange. I'm going to go ahead and shoot off another email. Come here and check our Gmail account again. There's that email. And that email will pop up in our inbox shortly. So what you saw here, and it happened pretty quickly, was a real live Exchange server failover. And the reason why we can failover so quickly is because we do tie into the application's APIs, and we're creating consistency bookmarks that allow us to go back to a point in time where we know that the data is consistent. This is very powerful because if you compare this to traditional backup solutions, typically you would have to, first of all, restore the data from a proprietary backup format. Then you would have to try to bring it up in a secondary Exchange server that you might have to rebuild if you have the time and the hardware. And then you would have to run Microsoft's internal consistency check, and who knows how long that would take, right? I remember when I was working as a field engineer for an integration company, I had a worst case scenario with a customer that had an Exchange server. Of course, their Exchange server went down. They had some database integrity issues, and their backups were bad. So we spent 48 hours straight trying to get that Exchange server back up and running, compared to what you saw here that happened in under 2 minutes. I was able to fail this Exchange server over. This is very powerful, and this is a tool that I wish I had back then, and I'm glad I have now. So in this current state, the users are currently logged in to our failover server in the cloud. They're up and running, and you and or the customer can take your time figuring out what's wrong with their production server. Order whatever parts you need, order a whole new server, whatever. And at some point in time, you're going to want to fail back. Failing back is a simple matter of doing exactly what you saw here, except in reverse. So basically, we would set up a replication going back to the production server, and it doesn't even have to be the same physical server. We're hardware agnostic, so it could be a different physical server, it could be a virtual server, it doesn't matter. So you could even use this in a migration project if you needed to upgrade your hardware. And then we would run a failback script. And the failback script basically does the same thing as this failover script, except in reverse. So that's typically something you would schedule after hours, on the weekends, whatever. If you really wanted to, you could do it while during the middle of the business day. You saw how fast that failover was over here. And then they'd be back up and running on their production server, set up the replication coming back to our data center, so you're ready for the next failover or the next test. We can test this on a monthly basis if you want, or whenever you want to. And So what you saw here was a live Exchange server failover using the vBC Cloud solution. Failover happened in just a couple of minutes, and I challenge you to find any other solution out there that's willing to do a live failover demo like this. And so far, we haven't been able to find anyone who does something like this simply because nobody else can. Thanks for your time, and have a great day.